It makes a ton of sense here to jump into the 2026 NFL Combine special of our 9 Nittany Lions.
When we did our preview, and I said if this kid can run a 4.6, that's going to be some money. And he ran a 4.63. So that is really, really good at his size.
Combine was an opportunity. Pro Day is an opportunity. At the end of the day, it's opportunities to get things out of there. What's your thought process about just the Combine and the Pro Day, and how do you maximize that as a player?
Quarterback sneak right side, touchdown, Penn
State. Back this week, got Jay. First off, how you doing, brother?
Good, brother.
We got to.
Wow.
Make sure you're doing good.
Our boys killed it at the Combine, man. I'm excited. I'm happy for
them.
them.
Yeah, they look good, man. We did the Combine preview previously last week. We hit on some stuff as the Combine was going on. As we said, typical recording date got kind of bumped back. So we just figured it makes a ton of sense here to jump into the 2026 NFL Combine special of our 9 Nittany Lions that were in attendance in Indianapolis. So that's going to be the focus, just kind of dive into it. As you guys know, Jason and I got a ton of experience kind of going through that stuff and what it takes. So I think this is going to be really cool to just kind of dive into the national analysis, right? And then obviously we got a little bit of Homer analysis here, having watched these guys develop the past few years. So, I'm like I said, I'm pretty excited. And there's some good shit here, like some really good stuff from these guys, some things that we didn't really expect. When you look at it, like, we talked about Dani being a potential like skyrocketer if he does some really good things, and he kind of checked just about every single one of those boxes.
Yeah, he definitely did, and not only that, honestly, I thought he surpassed some stuff that I thought, personally, I thought he was gonna do. I mean, 4.63 40-yard dash, and we spoke when we did our preview, and I said if this kid can run a 4.6, that's gonna be some money. And he ran a 4.63. So that is really, really good at his size. I think he measured at 6'7" or 6'6".
6'6", yeah. 6'6" and some change.
6'6". I mean, that is it reminds me of who's this guy I played against? Montez Sweat.
Yep.
That is who, in terms of measurables, in terms of what the Combine for him looked like, Montez Sweat, which is, really a high-end rusher, has been a starter in the league for some time now. That's what it reminded me of. I mean, 39.5-inch vertical. I mean, shit, that's elite. That is elite. Almost 40 inches. That is elite. That's top-tier athleticism. Broad jumped out of the gym, 10'11". I mean, fuck. I jumped like a 10'6" at the Combine. I mean, 10'11" is freaking – that is as legit as it gets at his size. That is the definition of explosion. A 6'9", three-cone drill. I don't put much into three-cone drill, but, I mean, that says a lot about change of direction, about bending. So, I mean, overall, Dani did absolutely everything he possibly could have. If I was him, I don't even participate in Pro Day outside of on-field drills.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll get to that Pro Day thing. And then I thought another guy, dude, Drew popped, for what he had to do. Obviously, not a ton of stuff came out of, like, his whole interview process, which I mentioned being probably one of the more important things. Check the box with the injury thing by getting out and just participating. And there's some highlights there. But, looking at the big picture of this whole thing, as he said, 9 guys. We talked about how awesome that is, like 9 guys getting in there. Obviously, Singleton situation, we highlighted what we needed from him. I think the Jones fracture and all that stuff was still a little bit too fresh coming off of the Senior Bowl. But that just proves Pro Day, more important. A couple of these guys, right? A couple of these guys opted out of actual testing. And
no doubt.
Let's dive into that a little bit too. I mean, Jay, like going into the pre-draft process, I mean, I looked at this as like, Combine was an opportunity. Pro Day is an opportunity. At the end of the day, it's opportunities to get things out of there. But there's some gamesmanship behind this, obviously, right? Like it's like if you're trying to hide something, and then that's up to discretion if you don't do something. But like I kind of approach it as like I want to go out and do as much as I can. Then if I checked every box, then I do something at Pro Day type of thing. Nick's a unique case because he is freshly banged up, so it makes a ton of sense for him to get as much time as humanly possible to get back to what at least has been known about him in terms of
100%.
speed and all that stuff. But what's your thought process about just the combine and the pro day, and how do you maximize that as a player?
Well, let's start just by talking about the combine in general in terms of what it's like for players, just because we both have had that experience. Mine maybe been a little bit different than yours because I got hurt right before the combine. I'd torn my rectus femoris muscle in my quad, grade 3 off the bone. I had a decision to make whether I was going to get the surgery and really miss my whole rookie year or try to tough it out, which I did. I didn't feel like really I had a choice. And not only that, but like just what the combine is for the players. The combine is freaking tough, and it's supposed to be. They make it that way. It is an all day, all night ordeal. You are up at 5 a.m. with doctors. You are getting poked and prodded. Your blood is taking. They're taking every single injury you ever had in college. You have a doctor specialist for each of the, whether it's a wrist doctor, shoulder doctor, knee doctor, looking at you, checking you out, putting you on a table like you're a freaking frog about to get dissected, and they are touching your limbs and stretching you here and open you up that way, open up that way. They're looking at your face. Are you wincing? Are you in pain? They're looking at, measuring how far you can stretch. The whole ordeal. So you feel like a piece of meat. That's one. That's just the reality of what it is. They're freaking measuring your eyeballs. Anything you can possibly imagine that you can physically measure, it gets measured at the combine. So, that's tough. You do that really, all morning long, and you have interviews with teams. You go in, you're talking to teams. You go in a room, there's a bunch of freaking coaches, position coaches, whatever. You go in, you're talking ball. If you're, a real special upper echelon prospect like you were coming out of college, I'm sure you had, what do they call them? The 32 visits? What do they, there's a special name for it. I forget what they were called. When you go in with the team and it's like owner, GM, head coach,
it's like 12 minutes. I think they delineated them as like official visits.
Yeah, it's like an official visit.
Official meetings as opposed to kind of the laissez-faire, like you said. You go up in the train room in Indy and you kind of have like you could spend an hour at one table,
right,
if you wanted to. Yeah,
right. And basically the whole thing is, before you actually take the field, you're doing this all day long, 5 a.m. from the second you wake up till you're finishing your official visits. Some official visits might end till 1 a.m. and you're back up at 5 a.m. And they make it this way on purpose. They want to mentally challenge you. They want you to be tired. They want you to not get a whole lot of sleep. They want to see how you're going to perform, basically low key, quote unquote, at your worst in non-optimal conditions. That's kind of what the deal is, which is why when it comes to the NFL Combine, I don't, when a kid doesn't have a great day or doesn't, run as fast as I normally would, I don't take a ton of stock in it, just because I understand what that experience is like and how hard it is to go out there in those circumstances and perform at your best. Even though it is expected, it is tough. It is tough on those guys. And it's not only that, it's the nervousness. It's you're getting grilled. Some teams are weird. Some teams ask you weird questions that's maybe not even football related. You're always feeling like you're getting trick fucked, with some of these questions, and you're doing your best to, be yourself while at the same time putting your best foot forward and your best image forward for these teams, and, kind of get them a glimpse into who you are as a person and as a player, and, what they're going to get in their investment if they decide to draft you. But it's tough. That's just the reality of the business, and they make it that way on purpose.
Yeah, I've said this. I've been a big proponent of this. I wish, because the part that gets me is that they've then commercialized the combine so much now, where it's now a revenue driver for the NFL and the owners. And you're really put in a tough situation then. Like, I almost wish they would go back to the old school, like, closed doors NFL Combine was about the workouts and then the evaluation process. And they put you, because like you said, everything you outlined, that happens day 1 and 2. You don't even touch the field till day 3 or 4 of the thing, right? So, like, it's at the end of all this whole mess that you go through in Dog and Pony Show. And it is one of those things. But like I said, I mean, for me, like it was like, I'm going to go do this and whatever happens, happens. And then I'll evaluate that performance and then check the box later, you know? So I just think it's really important for people to understand that like, this is all part of the process. And for the most part, a lot of the guys we're going to talk about here, as we previewed, are guys that had boxes to check. A lot of those boxes got checked. The ones that didn't, there's going to be follow-up here for Pro Day. That's going to be necessary. And the heat gets turned up a little bit because you didn't take advantage or couldn't take advantage of the opportunity of getting that trial run or taking advantage of that extra opportunity with the NFL Combine.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And we are not exaggerating when I say like this.
Yeah,
this shit is torture. Like for some guys who come off with like fresh injuries from the combine, like they get to the combine and then they have to like go do a couple of MRIs. Then you're sitting in an MRI machine for 2 hours straight. Like you know how that shit's hard.
Yeah,
like straight up. Like it's
they hit me with back-to-back
mentally truly grueling. It really, really is, huh?
They hit me with back-to-back in the MRI machine because they said the first one, the imaging, I moved a little bit and the imaging got all
exactly.
jacked up.
Now you got another 15, 30 minutes in your ear. Like that's tough. It's not easy to do that and go out there and perform. And then you got the Wonderlic test. Can you give us a little explanation of the Wonderlic test? We all took it.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to, you know, give you like, it's a bunch of random questions that test your ability to basically problem solve on the fly, and they try to attach it to your ability to, you know, pick up systems or whatever. But it's a general IQ test, and
it's like I forget how many questions. It's like 29 questions or something like that. I forget how many it was,
bro.
It's like based on how many you get, that's your score or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on though, and like I said, the commercialized side of this is what gets me. Is like, I think the average consumer watching this is like, oh yeah, like this is a great opportunity. Like they're going to be so prepared for this. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
It's not much you can do to truly, you know, you train all you want and all, but in terms of the external circumstances around the combine and all that comes into it and what you got to do, there's no true way to be, you know, fully prepared for this. And not only that, there are guys who get, you know, preferential treatment. You know, there's guys who, you know, most coaches have first round grades going into that combine, and they're going to get longer looks. They're going to get extra time in the interviews. They're going to maybe go in and actually watch some film and have you draw up plays and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So you just got to go in there. You got to put your best forward. You can't worry about who's getting this, who's not getting that, man. It's just all about, got to make it all about you and do, you know, all that you can do during those 4 or 5 days that you're out there. And mind you, doing it in Indy also is not easy either. On that field, in that environment, you know, cold as hell. It's brutal. It's just tough. I felt like I never felt warm while I was in the combine. Between each drill, you're waiting for like 30 other guys, 20 other guys at your position to do the drill before you get another go. Like when you're normally training, you might have 3 or 4 lines of people all going at the same time, and like your reps are stacking. You're staying warm. At the combine, it's easy to get cold. You'll see guys on the side doing high knees, jumping up and down, trying to stay in their zone. It is hard to be in that zone and stay in it at the combine. It just is. It's hard. Let's go through these guys though.
Yeah, let's dive into that, man. Like you know, the guy we were talking about earlier, you jumped into some of the measurables was DDS. We highlighted like what the potential could be with him, and like you said, checked an insane amount of boxes. I mean, they do that athletic score, that RAS score or whatever, and like his was damn near perfect. It was like a 9.93 out of 10. Based upon all that, his athleticism grade was an 85, which is the second among all edge rushers. So
you got everything he possibly could have.
You got a big, long, tall, athletic dude who was productive, right? And that's the thing about DDS is you turned on the tape and he was productive. Now there's some arguments where you could say that it was selective production, like he turned that on at times. It wasn't consistent. You know, you might say, I don't know about this kid's motor, but at the end of the day, you tie all these measurables with production and a paycheck, and you're in the league. I mean, skyrocketing. Like the draft stock has to be through the freaking roof right now.
Yeah, I mean, he put up first round numbers. I don't think he'll be a first rounder, but I think he definitely put himself in conversation to go in the second round, which I don't think many people maybe had him at that time, in the second round. And you look at a guy like, Odafe Owe, who I think at Penn State might have had 2 or 3 career sacks, ends up getting drafted in the second round. And Odafe obviously has had a great career. Now has a second contract. He's with the Chargers now. And when you match the athleticism of DDS and you have the production behind it on tape, 23 and a half sacks, 35 TFLs, 127 tackles, I think that does enough for him to put him in the second or third round. He won't slip past the third round.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. When you think about even a potential late first round here with him, like what's it going to take? And I'm asking you, like, put a price tag or a willingness to maybe even stretch, right, for a team late. Think about the teams they're going to be picking late. Is there a potential for that? And like put a value add on a rusher with this type of recorded physical talents and boxes that are checked. Like try to put a price tag on that. Like, is it worth a reach? I guess is what I'm trying to say concisely.
I mean, yeah, I think you can make the argument that it's worth the reach. I think with the way the league is going and where we are, I mean, it's about the quarterback and it's about the guys who protect the quarterback and it's about the guys who get after the quarterback. I mean, that's where the league is right now. Those are like the 3 most important positions on the field right now in terms of the way the league views it, in terms of the way that those positions are paid. That's what the money says. So I just think as a team, if you're a team that has a need at edge rush, has a need for a guy who can be an edge rusher, not just an edge rusher, but a guy who can be an every down player. I mean, that is what Dani is. He's not an edge rush specialist. He's a guy who's an every down guy. He's going to first down. He's going to set the edge. He's going to be great in the run game. He's going to be good in the pass game as well. I just think overall, when you put all of his stuff together, his versatility and all that he can do, then I don't call it a reach. It would not be this big, bad surprise if a team takes him at the end of the first round or super early in the second. I don't think that's a reach at all for where the game is right now. I just don't. So, wherever he goes, what I do know is that he won't slip past the third. And if he goes end of the first, it really won't surprise me with the state of the league right now.
Yeah. Did you have that same feeling before the combine?
I did not think that he would be able to combine his way into late first round talks. I did not. Yeah. I did not. I thought he'd be able to combine his way possibly into late second round. But, I mean, he's combined his way into early second round, possibly late first. I still don't think he goes late first. But early second is very possible with these numbers. Another strong day, another good pro day showing for him. And I think he's pretty solidified. I truly do.
Yeah,
I truly do.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Let's bump over to Vega, right? We talked about Vega's upside heading into this, arguably our highest rated, best overall pro prospect coming out in terms of a finished product. What were your takeaways from him?
I mean, he did the on-field drills. He didn't do 40-yard dash and things of that nature. But when I looked at him on the on-field drills, it was everything. I thought it was smooth as hell. I think out of all the offensive linemen I have seen on tape in college this year, I think he has the cleanest tape. His tape is clean. He has great footwork. He has strong hands. He's got a good punch, good in the pass game, good in the run game. He finishes people. There are multiple clips on tape where this dude is running people out of bounds, where this dude is finishing people into the ground. Like that, the NFL coaches freaking salivate over that type of mentality, man. And to be honest, I think among that position in terms of offensive linemen, I think some of that's been lost. I think that some of these offensive linemen are really just the position as a whole right now in college is softer than it used to be. I really do think that. I do not think we have as many Quentin Nelsons and dudes who are just going in there trying to freaking kill somebody, trying to freaking finish somebody in the ground each and every play. I think we've lost some of that at that position. So I think it is great that it brings that old school mentality. I just truly think coaches are going to salivate at that. I really, really do. I wouldn't be surprised. I think the Ravens are picking at 14. I wouldn't be surprised if Baltimore goes and gets him at 14 in the first round.
Yeah, long. I was very taken away by his length, especially for an interior guy. Like it's one of those things that you're looking for more on your tackles and the edge guys. But he is long, but he doesn't play like it's not a hindrance. It's an advantage for him, and he
Yep.
really uses it. And like you said, plays a great pad level bend. I thought skipping the 40 and all that stuff was completely like I don't think he should even do it at the pro day. Like
No, I
why?
think it's
Like
warranted. Yeah, I
why?
think it's warranted.
He's one of those guys where you don't even need to do those things. And we talked about it. Like I was excited to see his 10-yard split, but like who cares? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you'll see it in the on field drills, and you did.
And you see it on tape when he pulls around the edge and he gets into space. You see it on tape. That guy, he can accelerate pretty well. He's sticky once he gets his hands on you. You know, it's not easy to make him miss. I know there's better athletes, obviously, in the league, but when you just look at his tape, man, his tape is just so freaking clean.
Yeah,
Really, just clean. That's the best way to describe it. Just clean as hell.
yeah. And I mean, for me, you talked about for the argument for deny, right, is the way the game is, right? The most important position is quarterback and start backpedaling from there, right? So now tackles, protectors, blah, 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 blah. The one thing that I think has gotten overlooked and something that I've been a big proponent of going back to when I first got to Penn State, talking with Billy O, he always talked about, I wasn't like this most super athletic guy. Like I was athletic. I get around stuff. I ran a 4.7 at the combine, whatever it was, but like, I wasn't going to outrun guys out of the backside of the pocket, like consistently. It just wasn't my game.
Yeah.
So when I talked to Billy, he was always like, "Hey, like make sure you're moving up in the pocket. If you're going to escape out the front. Like let the lanes kind of go. And I'm going to coach these guys up front, especially your three interior guys, to be very, very solid and more. Don't take things vertically, but move things laterally, and that's okay because if there's a lane, you can take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that was really ingrained in me. Like, and I got a really good comfort in that, where the front side of that pocket is super, super stable. I don't really care if the edges are bad, but if that front middle three of the pocket is stable, then I can make plays with my legs, and I can also step up and make plays with my arm as needed to. And I think that Vega brings that type of versatility. And I think with the right fit, he's going to be a very valuable asset for specifically the quarterback, because you really want to feel comfortable stepping up in that pocket because you can make your tackles right. If your interior falls apart, then you're put in a position where you got to go out run guys like DDS who run 4.6s and the linebackers who are running 4.4s to the sideline. And there ain't many quarterbacks in the league that can do that consistently. Point blank, period.
I mean, not with the way those D linemen were running.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that for sure. They weren't running the way these past 3-4 years. Some of the times I've seen in the 40s out of the D linemen, they are becoming really special athletes. And, it's really a lost art what you're talking about in terms of escaping the pocket from the front. A lot of these quarterbacks nowadays, they want to take the outside. I mean, you look at those two Caleb Williams throws at the end of, the fourth quarters, and he's escaping around the outside and then losing yardage again from the other side. And it's not what coaches want. And Caleb is obviously a special athlete. That's not a knock on him. He's been doing that, since he's in college, and he's making it work in the league. But, at a base level, it's not what you want. And I think really just stepping up in the pocket for these young quarterbacks has become somewhat of a lost art. And I mean, Tom Brady is obviously one of the best to ever do it. Philip Rivers was great as well in terms of really just climbing. But he's one of those guys that is going to be really, really solid on the inside. So
yeah,
love what he brings. He'll be a first round guy. I can't wait to talk about Drew next.
Yeah, I know.
Big riser.
Get into it.
You talked earlier and you said that you didn't hear much about the interview process. I've been tuning in to NFL Network. And, Peter Schrager was on there the other day, and Peter made a comment about the quarterback class, and Drew's name came up. And he said that, I've been talking to a lot of the NFL owners and NFL GMs, all 32 teams. And one guy's name that just keeps on getting brought up is Drew Allar. And they kept saying, this guy has the it factor. There's just something about him that we love. Yeah. 5-star quarterback, this, that, and the third. But man, this kid's humble. This kid's ready to work. I love, he's one of those guys who always points at me. He ain't making excuses. He's not bitching about we didn't have enough receivers or we didn't have enough talent or I had to switch coordinators. Nah, and that's what the NFL wants, because kids that are like that, those are the ones that are going to stay after practice every single day and get better. Those are the ones who are grinding on film. Those are the ones that at the end of the day, they want to put it all on themselves. And in the NFL, that's the type of mentality you need. Things don't go right. Shit ain't perfect. Yeah, he could have caught it, or yeah, I could have thrown a better ball. It's about me. When they make it about me and I need to be perfect and I want to be perfect out there, that's what coaches want to see. And apparently those are the types of answers and the types of vibes that NFL GMs, owners, and coaches were getting from Drew in his interview. So I thought he really did well and made himself some money during this process.
Yeah, and the one thing that we haven't really dove into, just broad stroke, I mean, outside of Fernando, with Dante Moore coming back and a few of these other quarterbacks that have decided to stay at college, it really, I mean, it isn't this crazy deep quarterback class. I'm not going to even compare it to like the Kenny Pickett year. I think it's better than that, but it isn't super deep. It's good timing for Drew, right? With all of the narrative around him. And again, he checked the box in terms of, is his ankle healthy? Yeah. He went out there, looked good, looked clean, feet looked great. Didn't seem to be favoring it at all. We'll see what he decides to do at pro day. But, and I said this too, I thought he was going to check the box fine. You miss a throw or two here at the combine. It gets, overanalyzed, hyper overanalyzed, but new guys, new break points, like all that shit doesn't matter. He was able to get it to point A to point B looking clean and concise, didn't miss like out of the world. So, I mean, at the end of the day, when you evaluate it, yes, and to your point, it must have been some buzz coming out of those meetings because, like I said, I thought that was going to be the biggest thing. And now, again, chiefly, my biggest concern is like where he lands. Not when he goes, but where he lands. I think will ultimately determine, how well things go for him.
Agreed. I hope he goes to a place where, it'll be looked at as a developmental quarterback, have at the minimum 1 year to truly just sit down, breathe from all the drama and everything that happened from college, release all of that stress and pressure, and just be able to just sit back and really learn and just get better every single day, run the scout team every single day, take the reps with the twos, when needed, and just grow on his own, where he is able to establish a level of confidence when it is go time and when his number gets called, whether that's in preseason or whether that's in one of the games when the starter or if the starter gets hurt. So
yeah, no doubt. And then Kaytron
Allen, man, I love this kid. I know he's gonna do hopefully tests at pro day. He didn't do most of the testing at combine, but he did do the on-field drills, and man, did he look smooth. I mean, he had the one drill with the three bags where he goes 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 boom, cut. Oh my god! I mean, it was the cleanest rep out of all the backs. Yeah. And I know he ain't gonna be. If he did run the 40, he wouldn't have been the fastest. I mean, there were a couple of backs that were 4.3s, but if you just saw the ways the legs were moving, the pad level, the preciseness, and the cuts, the no hesitation. I mean, he looked good, really, really good. I think he's one of those guys that's really just going to come in, grind, be asked to share some of the workload. I don't think he'll be a lead back at first, but really will have an opportunity to become that. I mean, I really, really do. His hands looked good, soft. He didn't drop any balls, which is another big thing for him too, showing that, in the receiving game that he can also be versatile from that standpoint, run routes and things like that. So love the tape. I mean, the coach is going to turn on the tape, love this kid. They're going to look at that combine, the on the field. It all matched up. It really did.
Yeah, I think if he feels good, and I think he bought himself some time, I think he definitely is going to run. Like I said, I think he needs to be in that 4.5 range. Will be a lot easier to do, I think, in Haluba. Back home, getting ready, like you said, not the angst and anxiety of the combine after all that, getting, 14 vials of blood drawn from you. It's important for him, right? Because it's one of those things that they do use against you as a back, regardless of what the tape is. And that's the funny thing. I mean, we are talking about Penn State's all-time leading rusher. Like, start
Yeah.
naming some names, right? So he has that benefit, and I think that has given him the ability to skip out of that combine thing and it not be too big of a crush on him. And like you mentioned, I thought the on-field drills for him was where he was going to shine anyway, because he
Yep.
is much more of that football player. Like, I just want to see how his body moves,
Yep.
his short area quickness, getting in and out of cuts, like, but not in this kind of like predetermined setup drill that's supposed to tell those things. Like, let's just play the game, roll the ball out there. That's how Kaytron, I think, that's where he thrives. And everything you said about him as a pro, completely agree. Like, he'll grow into that. Like I said, I don't think he's going to be a feature guy from day one, but he'll definitely grow into it. And, like I said, he runs a 4.5, man. I think it bumps him. You know what I mean? You know what you're getting with him. There's not a lot of unknowns with him, which I think is what's very safe about Kaytron.
And I think also Kaytron is battling things that are out of his control. I think the NFL has devalued the running back position in general. Mm-hmm. So let's throw that out there as well. Some of this isn't all even about Kaytron, but it is about the fact that they're getting a high volume college back that has already taken a ton of carries in the league. From the perspective of an NFL organization, in terms of where you take this kid, they're probably also looking at, okay, how many miles does he have on his legs? How many miles are on these wheels? It is, where do you take him? And then it's also, at the end of the day, if you look at the running back position, the only guy that is to me, that I see in this draft from the running back position that's like bona fide star feature back is Jeremiah Love. Outside of that, it's a matter of, who do you see fitting in your system? What's the style of running? Does he work for us? Is he a zone guy? Is he a gap guy? This, that, and a third. And I think Kaytron can do anything from that standpoint. But the only bona fide feature back star in this draft is Jeremiah Love, who will go in the first round. Outside of that, it is going to be a matter of team, fit, need. Are they looking at the production? Are they looking at how many miles are on the wheels? Is this a guy we're going to look at that we think can make it to a second contract for us? Or are we going to use him up in his 3-4 years, which most teams are doing now? Most teams now don't want to pay running backs their second contract. We all know that through a guy like Saquon, who we were all scratching our heads that the Giants didn't want to sign to a second contract, because if it was me, it would have been a blank check. But that's just the reality of the league right now. So I think he's also fighting that battle, which at the end of the day isn't his battle to fight, but is also just the reality of where the league is at today. They don't mind taking a guy, having him 3-4 years, and then being like, all right, whatever value you can go and get it, but we're done with you. We're going to come take this young guy who's got less miles on the wheels, because we just don't value the running back position as much as we used to. So
it's a good take. Hard to argue with those points. With that being said, do you think that he should even be concerned about anything moving forward here? Do you think he's just getting healthy and seeing what happens and seeing how it shakes out? Do you think pro day is a Super Bowl for him?
I think the 40-yard dash is somewhat of a Super Bowl for him. That I mean, if he goes in and he can run, I don't think he'll run 4.4, but if he runs 4.4, now we're talking. Even if that's numbers 4.49, we're talking. We're talking second round. But from a value perspective, I just don't think the NFL values the position the way it once did. It's really just that simple. Unless, like I said, you are a guy who is just freakish on all levels, which a guy like Jeremiah Love is. I mean, that cat is special.
Yeah.
That's Bijan Robinson level. That's Saquon Barkley level. That's, you know what I mean? And that's elite. That is elite. There's an elite echelon of backs like Bijan, like Saquon, and Jeremiah Love is in that conversation. He's a part of that tier in my eyes. So,
yeah, there's guys that you can build a system around, and there's guys that are pieces to a system. I think Kaytron's a really good piece to a system.
Exactly. That's well put. Put. And then that moves us on to his running mate, Nick Singleton, who obviously we talked about coming off a fractured foot, Jones fracture over at the Senior Bowl. This is a guy who pro day is going to mean a lot for him. Pro day is going to be a lot for him. I would not be surprised if Nick Singleton works out at two positions, at running back and at wide receiver. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and split out wide, but I wouldn't be surprised if he had a extended route running session just for teams to see that, okay, this kid can really catch the ball. He can really run routes. He can really be versatile from that standpoint, because I think that is where you find the value in Nick if he moves up the draft board. You know, we know that he's got that 4.3 speed. I don't know if 4.2 is in play for him, but 4.3 is definitely, where teams view him and would like to see and would be considered to be a really good day for Nick. Obviously, really explosive. Put on some weight too. 6 foot, 219 pounds. I think pre-injury at the Senior Bowl. So, he's gotten stocky and kept that speed. And it'll be interesting to see what his pro day looks like, even from a standpoint of what drills in total that he all does.
It's a good point. I mean, I think his structuring of how he ultimately goes about that, right? Because that's the nice thing about pro day too, is you kind of get to write the script. You get to dictate how you're going to work out for the most part, at least as a quarterback. And now Nick can kind of work into how that is, right? You know, hey Drew, I'm gonna go run 10 of your slot routes for you. I'm gonna run a couple slants and a couple of lesser complex outside routes, but that's gonna, kind of you help me, I help you type of thing. And yeah, I think it sucks, right? Because I think the same thing falls on Nick with what you were saying about Kaytron, just about the running back position as a whole, right? And I think what you're kind of getting at with him doing a little bit more here is like, he needs to start kind of writing the narrative as, I'm just a really elite athlete where if you put me in space, good things are going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. Don't pigeonhole me to the running back position. Let me return kicks for you. Let me return punts for you. Let me build value of get me the ball in space and I create explosives.
Yep.
If Nick can continue to write that narrative, I think he's a guy where as long as he stays healthy, as long as he keeps those attributes at tip-top shape, there's going to be a need for him in the league somewhere.
Yeah. I agree. And I just think that
runner, man. I just don't think he's developed enough as a runner. When I watched him, I don't think he's developed enough as a pure running back, whether it's the combination of vision and balance and versatility, pad level. Like I seen him get squared up too much. I've seen him get tripped up too much, trying to make a cut or two. He's really special when he's in space.
Yeah.
But it's just a little too much inconsistency on the tape side for me.
That is all valid. And my issues with Nick. My issues with Nick is great college running back, but in the NFL, you have to have make you miss capability. And that is where Kaytron ended up separating himself in this last year, and kind of why we started to see the split in the carries once Terry Smith took over, as head coach. Is Nick just does not have enough make you miss. And the most successful running backs in the league right now are very, very hard to get on the ground one-on-one. And it is just hard for me to make that argument with Nick that it is very hard to get him on the ground one-on-one in tight space. It's just, I cannot make that argument for him right now. So like you said, he will have to be an open space gadget, explosive. I return kicks. I create value in all of these little ways across the board. And that might even include special teams as well outside of returning kicks. So it'll be interesting for him. I hate that he hurt the foot because, as you know, it is to go out there and perform at your best. You have to have a rhythm of training before. You can't just because the foot is healed does not mean that he's ready. That does not mean he's fully healthy. Being fully healthy to me means not only are you fully healthy, but you've had at least 8 weeks to really train and dial things in and get back to who you are. And I just don't think that he will have that time by March 18th to feel that way about his body. I don't think I would. It's a tight window. So time is kind of against him at the same time. So
yeah,
we'll see how it all shakes out. But I know he will end up where he's meant to end up. And I think hopefully a team will bring out all of his best attributes out for the offense and really just for that team as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. Zaki
Wheatley. Was surprised that he didn't do everything at the combine. But as you know, things happen. Like, he could have a hamstring that nobody knows about. He can be dinged up here or there. You know, there are things that you like to keep under wraps that you don't want the coaches, you don't want nobody to know. So won't comment any further outside of that. I thought he looked outstanding in the on-field drills, though. That is where I thought he looked really good. He was smooth. Hip turns were great. He looked fluid. He was high pointing every ball in those deep ball drills. He's a guy who passes the eye test when you're in front of him, and he's just a ball player at the end of the day. I don't know where he gets drafted. I think it's going to be a climb for him to crack day 2 if at pro day he also doesn't test fully and things of that nature. I think it was probably a surprise to many teams that he did not test fully. And you know how these coaches look at that stuff. They start to look at it as a question mark, or, you know, that's just how they look at it.
Yeah, they're gonna drill deep into that. They're gonna pressure test that. And Zaki, to your point, his tape's good. It's really good. He's a football player, man. And that's where I feel bad for him, is that this process doesn't quite play into favor for guys like that, right? Yeah. Because this process has become so much about measurable shorts and T-shirts and less about when you buckle that chin strap up, what do you do? You know,
everybody can look good in shirt and shorts.
Everybody. In the right setting, in the right preparation, as you just highlighted. So I feel really bad for him that the process has gotten that way, because I think he's a really good football player, right? And I think that there are some organizations that still value that. Now, to your point about the hill to climb, he needed to take advantage of every opportunity that he had to create a little bit of separation, because he does have the boxes checked with that clicker in those evaluators' hands. But they still want to see some validation, right? This is all just validation to be able to do it, or little separation points against what can I use to argue as to why we need to pick Zaki Wheatley over X, Y, or Z at the same position, right?
Yeah.
He's kind of in that cluster. So I thought it was a missed opportunity, right? But there are still some teams that do value it, but they have all the leverage in their side if you don't go and put that to the test yourself as a player. And he didn't do that.
Because we all know what it's like in those war rooms. We know what it is at the end of the day. Like, not everybody may agree with who gets drafted, but there are going to be coaches who go and freaking pound on the table for certain kids. And when you don't give a coach as much possible evidence that you can give, the argument when that time comes and they're in that war room, they're thinking about who to draft next, it just makes it harder for that coach to vouch for you. Because at the end of the day, if you don't work out, it's his ass. And that's the reality. That's how the owner looks at it. That's how the GM looks at it. That's how the position coaches look at it. That's how the head coach looks at it. That's why picking a quarterback in the first round is a big, big deal. That is a big deal. That is a lot of trust and a lot of onus that you're putting in the kid. So you better be freaking right. He can't afford to be a bust, or it's our ass. And that's how they look at it. Or it's my job, or I'm going to get fired. So it's like, if you don't do everything you can to put as much evidence out on that table so people can pound your name on a table with confidence, you just make it tougher on yourself. So
yeah,
we'll see. He's obviously going to get an opportunity, whoever that is. He's a football guy. He's a guy that may not even have the absolute best camp, but I bet you when those preseason games come around, he shines.
Yeah.
You know, he shines. He makes the team. He proves his value during that time. That's what I think of Zaki. That's what I think is going to happen with him.
Yep. And then Khalil, man, I'll touch on Khalil Dinkins quickly, because I think he answered some questions about his short area quickness. That's something I talked about, right? It didn't pop on game tape, right? Didn't pop for me, but it popped here. Now, does it translate to the game tape after all this prep? Maybe, I don't know. But I thought he did. And then other than that, man, he quietly just had a really solid combine. Like, I think he just solidified exactly what I thought about him, as he's going to be a great tight end option for depth. He's going to be a guy that's definitely going to probably still be a run-first guy. Get him in on special teams, kind of like a Swiss Army knife. Use him because of his versatility and his athleticism and a lot of different roles. That's how he's going to earn that's how he's going to earn his spot. And then how he develops from there, I think, is going to ultimately determine like what his longevity looks like.
No, I 100% agree. You answered some questions about change of direction and things of that nature. Does that translate into the route running aspect of his game? To be determined. I think to learn about him early in camp. Still think he's a late round guy, but he's going to get an opportunity because at the end of the day, a really good blocking tight end, that will keep you a job in the NFL for quite some time. And we talked about that before in the pre-combine about Khalil. It's like, man, if he can continue to hone his technique, if he can prove at the next level that he can hang with these motherfuckers who look like Dani Dennis-Sutton at 6'6", 250, 260 pounds, and he can move people at the line of scrimmage, that is immense value for an offensive coordinator whose very first prerogative as an offense is to run the freaking ball. That is invaluable.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, there ain't a whole lot of them. There ain't a whole lot of them in the league that can do it. There ain't.
Yeah. No doubt.
You look at any DN, you go in any defensive lineman room, they will tell you should not lose a rep one-on-one against a tight end. Shouldn't happen. So you go in there and you can prove that they can leave you out on an island out there and you can really reset the edge and drive a guy 5 yards off the ball with width and depth. There ain't a whole lot more you're going to be able to ask than that. And in this league against those types of athletes with those types of size that they have out there on the edge. So it'll be interesting to see. I think he's still a late round guy to me, but he made a little bit of money at this combine.
You talk about points of separation, top 3 in bench, right? Those are all things that they can use now, right? Where if it's Khalil or another guy that's kind of middle of the pack tight end room, it's going to say, hey, well, he benched more than him at the combine. He ran a faster 3-cone than him at the combine. And by the way, when you look at them both run routes, it's kind of similar, right? Just little points of differentiation. I thought he took advantage of those, right? It's not huge incremental leaps, but definitely data points that are going to be noted and starred and highlighted, in my opinion.
Yep.
Drew Shelton.
Exactly what I thought he was.
Yeah.
I thought everything he did was middle of the pack.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought he was a developmental prospect. Guy that's going to have to earn it in camp, but has the ability to earn it in camp. Has the ability to flash. Has really good hands. Great feet at his size. Great feet. And I think offensive lineman coaches, especially at that position over at tackle, they look at the feet. Can you stay in front of people? And once you stay in front of people, can you anchor? And he's got the size to anchor. I think he's a Penn State guy, so he's got some grit to him. He's got that shit to him when you talk about Penn State. And that's the advantage of going to a school like ours, is we have a reputation. Like, there are coaches who look at guys and be like, okay, that's a Penn State guy. And that really means something in the league. When they look at a guy and say, that's a Penn State guy, that means something. So definitely he's going to have to earn it in camp. He's probably a 7th-round guy, if not undrafted, but will for sure get an opportunity to compete / be a developmental prospect, whether it's P squad or whatever the case is. But this is a guy who can be something in the league. I truly do feel that way.
Hey, he's got the frame. He's got everything, right? And everybody can have an opportunity. I just thought he proved exactly what everyone thought he was. And that's okay. You know what I mean? Yep. Sometimes just the added validation is good enough. And I think a guy who did take advantage of some of these things was Zayn Durant, right? Because we talk about a guy who had so much production early in his career. Production kind of fell off, but was always evaluated for his freakish athleticism. Got to see it on the national stage. 4.75 40 for a compact interior defensive lineman. Proves exactly what we said, man. He's going to be a knifer in this league with how strong he is, his hand placement, what he can do. He's going to be a penetrate, a slash and penetrate type of defensive lineman. Definitely a need for it in certain systems. But I thought, I thought that what he did was remind people that, hey, I did warrant that top 5 freak list 2-3 years in a row, whatever the hell it was, of college football. I thought it was a really good combine for him from that perspective.
Yeah, look, I mean, this combine and really Senior Bowl, an extension of Senior Bowl, it was about separating his 2025 tape from his overall ability. And when you go out there and you're on a 4.75, that does that.
Yeah.
Straight up, ain't no other way to put it. Fastest defensive lineman out of that group. If you looked at the Senior Bowl as well, I watched a lot of the one-on-one reps. I thought he crushed it. And the reality is, the best version of Zayn Durant is the version that is playing with a freaking fat chip on his shoulder. And when you look at that combine performance that he was able to put on, that's what it looks like he's doing. It looks like he's got a chip on his shoulder. It looks like he's motivated as hell. And in that tape in 2025, I thought there were too many clips. There were too many periods of time where I just didn't see that fire. And right now it feels like it's burning piping hot. And that's the best version of him. And if an NFL team is getting that version of Zayn Durant, they're getting a damn good football player. That's what I know at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think similar talking track with Drew, like it's a fit thing. He's a high upside piece of the puzzle, right? I think he can be very disruptive in certain schemes. And I think that's what he is. He's a high value draft pick with the right fit. If you don't put him in the right fit, you risk some of those bad habits potentially coming back to fruition. And frankly, some of his like negatives as a player or blind spots as a player, frankly, coming out, right? He needs to be put in a system that really hides his deficiencies and highlights his efficiencies. And I think the numbers and everything popped. And again, it just goes back to fit with me with him. But to kind of put a bow on this, man, biggest winners, biggest losers, biggest stock movement overall. Hit me with what you got, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, biggest winners. I think that's crystal clear. That's Dani, it's Drew, it's Zayn, and it's Oliva Vega. Those are the biggest winners of the day. I don't think there were any quote unquote losers. I wouldn't even put Zaki in that loser category because I thought he looked great in the on-field drills. I really did. I think, some guys are obviously waiting for Pro Day, and we'll see when Pro Day comes up. But I mean, overall, I'm proud of this group and what they did. I thought it was a strong showing for Penn State in general. I think we definitely have a first round lock in Ioane right now, with the potential of, Dani sliding up in there, maybe even Drew. I know that sounds crazy with the way the season went, and he get hurt, and the career didn't end the way that we thought it was gonna end, but at the end of the day, when you can't teach that arm, you can't teach that talent, and that's what it comes down to, man. The NFL salivates at talent. They just do, and Drew has got a whole lot of that, and it might need some mending and molding and nitpicking and getting right and starting back from zero to build him back up. But NFL teams will take a swing at that. They will.
Yeah, he's not battered too physically or mentally really that bad, right? Like at the end of the day, like sure, you could probably make an argument that mentally maybe he is with all the pressure and all the narratives. But I mean, I think like at the end of the day, he played on some really good football teams. There were some missing pieces, but like to your point, I think he can. You can safeguard a pick with him in that later first half of the latter half of the first round. If the opportunity presents itself and the chips fall where they need to fall, because just as much as I do how much the draft is. There's so much movement, right? And there's so many ripple effects off of one thing, right? There could be a surprise pull in that like 11 to 15 thing that shuffles the whole deck for the back half, right? And everything kind of has trends. So you'll see how it goes in terms of that. But yeah, man, we'll see. I will say, I mean, it's out of his control, but I thought Nick, lost out on an opportunity. Unfortunately, again, out of his control. Injuries happen. But I hope he took advantage of all the other stuff that obviously the talking heads aren't going to be talking about as much in terms of the personal conversations, really getting a deep dive into the player. And as we highlighted, I think Pro Day will be Pro day will be a massive thing for him. And let's kind of bump over to that. Like pro day, we kind of talked about some of the stuff that we want to see out of these guys, but I'll start with Nick. I think he needs to validate the speed, and then also like we mentioned earlier, I think he really needs to display versatility as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have anything to add to that. I mean, the pro day is going to be his Super Bowl. Pro day is going to be his Super Bowl. Hopefully, he has an extended route running session at the pro day. Display the versatility. That's all I got on Nick, and then Kaytron as well. It's gonna be the measurements. It's gonna be, can he run 4.4, because that changes his trajectory and his story. And then really the only guy else that outside of, I guess, Zaki as well, that has something to prove is Drew. Familiar receivers, the same guys. Can he go out there and be clean just one more time? Because the combine throws looked great. Can he go out there? Can he put a final stamp, a final exclamation point on it? Put your best foot forward. It's how does Drew do? Can he be clean? No excuses at pro day.
Do you think Drew does any of the testing at pro day?
I think he should. Yeah, I wouldn't see why he wouldn't. It's not like
all that stuff.
It's not like he has some big expectation that he's supposed to go in there and run a 4.5 or 4.4 or something like that. I mean, I think whatever the number that gets spit out, I don't really think it's going to hurt him.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the other thing is like paying attention to the wires and all those insiders heading into pro day for Drew. Like, are there some private workouts? Are there some things leading up to pro day? In and around State College, whoever snoops around the whole private jet into State College flight trackers.
Yeah.
I think that's where you'll really start to get a feel for where Drew is on people's boards across the
league. Agreed.
With that, let's wrap this up, man. Some Penn State news outside of the combine. Really just one that I want to hit on. T-Mac rolling up to Buffalo, reuniting with Joe Brady as an offensive analyst. Interesting timing in my in my summation. You had him out there. He introduces Coach Campbell at Thon. We talk about having all these guys back, and he goes and takes an opportunity. It's kind of, for me, I think it's tough. You get to that league. I think he was in a. I think if Trace holds it out at the college level, he gets himself a role, whether it's a quarterback coach, something like, because he was an assistant quarterback coach in our staff. But I think he can kind of get outside of that umbrella of Penn State. I think he could have done that within a year or two. But he ran straight to the league, which is great for him. I mean, I think it's, for him personally, great move. Get with Joe Brady, get with Josh Allen. I mean, come on, you put that in your resume.
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of one of those. It's one of those opportunities that just really, really tough to pass up, to not only be able to go coach under a head coach who really knows you, who saw you when you were at your best days, your glory days, when Joe Brady was here with us in 2016, to have the opportunity to go and coach a guy and help out a guy like Josh Allen. It's a winning organization. They've been doing well these past few years. It's just a really, really good situation. I think there's less unknowns in Buffalo than there are at Penn State right now. And I think with that being said, the move makes sense. It may suck for us. It sucks for our room, because I think Trace is a huge, huge asset, not just because of his knowledge and what he brings to the quarterback room, but really just his experience as a Penn Stater for those guys, for a guy like Rocco Becht in that room. I think it's a tough loss for us. But, I mean, you got to tip the hat. You got to give Trace credit, and you got to wish him luck, man, because Trace is a great dude. He's a great coach. He's going to do some great things in the coaching world. And, I mean, what a better place than to go and coach a freaking stud like Josh Allen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for him too, man. I mean, when you look at it, the college world, it's getting the demand on coaches, dude. The work-life balance, I don't even think that word exists any longer when you start talking about college coaching. It's been one of the biggest reasons why I haven't even thought about getting into it.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd love to, but he just had his first boy, so like that stuff starts weighing into it, man. He's gonna have a lot more flexibility with the league schedule, and I think it'll end up being a good thing for him all around, right? I think Casey, I think his wife will be happy. I think the whole nine, I think it'll all work out for Niner there. But
Agreed.
the whole nine will work out. But nine's been a theme. 9 combine invites, 9 to the NFL. Here we go. It was a good wrap up sesh for the combine NFL pre-draft kind of process. We hit it before, we hit it slightly a little bit during, and now after. So happy to put that one behind us, and we'll be moving ahead to spring ball as it starts to get ramped up here, man. So I'm excited about what's to come. Obviously, still a pro day to talk about, but hey, man, appreciate your time, Jay, and we'll be back next week.